Welcome to the Downtown, brought to you by Arlington Citizen Media. I am Daryl Smith Jr., and across the globe from me is...
I am Rody John, and to my right is...
Amy!
On today's show, we talk to AISD Superintendent Dr. Marcelo Cavazos about how the school district is handling a new school year during a pandemic and what they're doing to bring the kids back to finish the year.
We also speak with Renegades Roundup co-host Joe Scanlan about his podcast, the Big XFL News, and what fans can look forward to next season. So what have y'all been up to?
That is awesome. Daryl, you and I have been busy. We kind of mentioned a teaser for the interview coming up with the superintendent. You and I both have children in the AISD school district that have been learning virtually from home. How are your kids handling it?
The older one's pretty okay. She's kind of used to this. She was kind of down with it last year. Also, she's pretty tech savvy, so this isn't really that big of a deal for her. And I think the biggest thing is she can read. That's pretty cool. So thank you for that, AISD schools. My youngest one, this is like the grade she learns how to read. So basically she's learning to be taught how to read over the internet, and it's interesting. I think it's working. We read every night, and she's getting better, but it's definitely weird. And time consuming.
She's young, right? She's first grade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so mine is fifth grade. So again, it was similar to your older one where, she already had an idea of the programs that the school was using, they had already been using them for the last couple of years, and she kind of got used to it the second half of last year. But this year, she's into it. She gets up every day. She's got her hair brushed. I can hear the teachers scolding the kids for laying down. There is a dress code they have to adhere to. There is a absent policy, a present policy. They have to be there at a certain time. She has plenty of work to do. I mean, it keeps her occupied from about 8:30 in the morning until about 3 in the afternoon, 5 days a week. Plus, she's doing orchestra.
Oh, yeah.
And, the school provided an instrument, which, of course, she picked the largest instrument that you could possibly pick, a stand-up bass.
Of course. Why not? It's the coolest instrument, too.
Right. So
she's going to be like a jazz trio sometime. Boom, boom,
oh, yeah.
Right?
It's cool, and it's a nice instrument. Honestly, I was very impressed.
We're trying to get her to spin it. She should be a rockabilly band later.
Yeah, dude, look at all the avenues this opens up for your kid.
Exactly. And forget if she can play it or not. If she can spin it, that's all.
Right. If she looks cool doing it, that's all anyone cares about.
Right. She's working on that. But I've been impressed overall.
Yeah, I've enjoyed. My kid's teacher the first grade teacher is really great. She's very encouraging. Just I assume she is in the classroom. But it definitely comes over on the virtual learning. And that was one of the things I was really worried about was for my younger child, that it was going to be more it was going to feel heavy, but it doesn't. It feels good. And she sends fun stuff, and they have yoga time that they can do, and videos where they can do, sing a song or have a story read to them. And even they do kind of what you're talking about with orchestra. They do specials. They do art, and they do PE, and they do music. And so we have music, little music thing that we have to do. And, it's good, but I also think that you and I are kind of in okay positions for something like this.
Right.
For other people, it's probably really hard, they've had to make a lot of really tough decisions on well, are we going to be able to do this, or is the kid just not going to school? How else do you do it if you can't? You don't have a job like mine where my wife gets to stay home from work.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. That's hardly being talked about and addressed. Yeah, we're very lucky. I know that if this had happened when I had my previous job, it would have been impossible.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful that I'm in the position that I am in now, but you're right. I don't know what other families are doing. I don't know. Anyways, Rody,
to not bum everyone out.
Yeah, not to bum everybody out. What have you been up to?
I have discovered a wonderful new coffee and bakery place on Bowen and Pleasant Ridge here in South Arlington called Grounds and Gold, which is an amazing coffee place they're soft open now. By the time this airs, they'll still be soft up next week, I believe. They should be fully open. I believe they said September 8th. We should have them on the show pretty soon also. So fingers crossed on that. But it is absolutely amazing. If you took the beauty of inclusion and made it even better, it's almost like something you would see on Saved by the Bell or maybe a One Tree Hill where all the kids will hang out at a coffee place. That's what it looks like. But
it is pretty close to Martin, right?
Yeah, it's also a bakery. So the food. I haven't tried the food there yet, but I've had the coffee and it's great.
Yeah, I've seen pictures of some of their items online already, and they look delicious.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, they'll have breakfast and they'll have lunch. I'm unsure about brunch or any alcohol preferences, but, time will tell.
Yeah.
Is it in Arlington or in DWG?
No, that's Arlington. Is it?
It's a weird.
They're
Yeah, because that liquor store is open before all the other.
That liquor store, I think it's in DWG,
right.
And that's fine. That'll be cool. It'll be like a first DWG business and it may not be, but I assume it is because that liquor store was there for a long time.
Right,
so.
exactly.
But that's cool. And
gray area of DWG in Arlington.
I feel like it's DWG though. I really do.
Okay. Well, they had liquor store open first, so.
So that'll be fun. I'm looking forward to that, not only for because it does look awesome, but also for the DWG aspect of it.
Yeah. They're looking to do a lot of stuff for the community and give back to the community. So, hopefully in the future we will host some kind of event there. And they also do a lot of stuff with charity, so it's even better.
Sounds awesome.
And Dare Bear, you had a sushi adventure.
Yes, my kid made like a National Honor Society or something. I don't know.
Nice.
So her grandpa was like, "That's a big deal. We should celebrate." But we are not really going to restaurants right now. And normally when we do something like that, we go to like a hibachi place because we just really kind of love that. It's real.
Show.
Right. It's fun. But we couldn't do that because we're not really going to restaurants. But we did go to a place over here we did takeout with,
Awesome.
Sushi and Grill, over here in North Arlington, over by, Road to Six Flags and Collins.
Okay. Over, Lincoln Square area.
Yeah, like right across from Lincoln Square. Yeah.
Oh,
and that new 7-Eleven for whatever reason.
It's a nice.
But yeah, it was good. It was really good. I assume it's even better like when you go.
Well, that's cool. I'm glad you got to try something new. Did you try sushi?
No.
Oh.
My kid really likes it though, so she had a whole bunch. So that's actually what she got. She was like, "I want some miso soup and I want a buttload of sushi," and we were like, "Cool."
Gotta love that miso.
With AISD Superintendent Dr. Marcelo Cavazos. How are you today, sir?
I am doing well. How are you today?
Doing great. So what has been the most challenging aspect of this pandemic we're still going through?
Well, the uncertainty,
Yeah.
the uncertainty and the continued adaptation that needs to happen, and specifically with schools as a result of this pandemic. And so we know that education is the foundation and very important for young people, and when that's disrupted, it becomes very challenging.
Right. So with school a little over a week into the new year, what is the school district doing different than the end of last year?
Yeah, so it's a good question. So last year in the spring when we closed, it was really more of emergency or crisis instruction.
Right.
We had to pivot very quickly to deliver online instruction. That's not what any public school system is designed to do, really. And so we spent the summer and in the spring as well, retooling and making sure that we have opportunities for students to have a rigorous curriculum here in the fall. So attendance is taken daily, grades are issued as well, interaction with the teachers every day, live interaction, counseling services, tutorial services, dyslexia, GT services. So really everything that the school is providing, we try to do it now online. And so very proud of our teachers and our principals, et cetera, that have really stepped up to make it very rigorous and pretty seamless this first week of school.
Right. So, I mean, we're doing virtual now, but I believe it's next month in September that we're going, or is it October that we're going back in person, or are we still kind of pushing the day back, going day by day?
So that's a very important question, and it's a persistent question.
Yeah.
So recently, Tarrant County Health Department surfaced a guideline, if you will, for reopening schools. They don't have the authority to enforce it, but they certainly have the expertise to recommend and guide. And so there's 6 indicators like positivity rate, hospitalizations, COVID-like symptoms, and things like that. Indicators that must be met before we open schools. And so that's our guide. And so currently the data is tracking positively, but it's not a trend yet, and it really needs to sustain. So when that data is hitting the mark for a sustained amount of time, then we reopen face-to-face with very strict protocols, and that's the key. It just doesn't, reopen the schools. It is with strict protocols of social distancing, wearing a mask, reduced numbers in the buildings, and things like that. So in essence, we're monitoring the data with our health authorities so that we can make that decision. And hopefully the data continues to track positively, and over a period of a couple of weeks or several weeks, we'll be looking at whether that sustains.
Okay. So obviously, going back, they're going to be so will be just teachers wearing masks, or will be doing teachers and students? Because I believe it's I mean, they're not exactly sure the age range on who can and who can't either have the COVID, transmit the COVID. So we're trying to, I guess, go day by day on that one too, right?
Yeah, and so we have already a reopening plan that's been reviewed, and we work in collaboration with health authorities. So our guidelines and our protocols are pretty strict, and so everyone in the building will wear a mask, first grade up, adults and students. There'll be temperature checks in the morning when they come everybody that comes into the building, a screener with specific questions that must be filled out before you come into the building. Then we're going to close the building for lunch for high school, for example, that some students at certain grade levels have open campus to go off campus for lunch. We're going to close the campuses for lunch. So very strict protocols, entry, exit, moving around the building. Students in the elementary will eat in their classrooms for the most part. So these guidelines, when we reopen face-to-face, will be implemented. And I'll tell you that when we can implement our guidelines with fidelity, it builds the confidence of teachers and staff that come back, as well as students and parents, to keep everyone safe. Safety is our priority for students, staff, and the community, and we know that that's our number one priority.
No, you're right. So do you feel like AISD was prepared as you would hope for something like this? And then also, what advice would you give to other school districts that are to try to be better prepared for an incident like this?
Yeah, so we've reflected on that often, and it's interesting because we had in several years ago adopted Canvas, and Canvas is a learning management system, basically where you can do online work. We had adopted that as a district, and so we had trained some teachers and some staff and offered a lot of different material for students, in a blended environment. So you're coming to school, but you can go online as well at home and things, before COVID. And so we had a number of years of investment in Canvas, and that's the learning management system. And so when this happened, it was a natural to go use Canvas. And so that we had a head start on that, I think, to a large extent. Now, not every teacher was using Canvas, and it wasn't, exclusive. It was in a blended environment. You used it in addition to your face-to-face instruction pre-COVID. So Canvas was a mainstay for us, and we had invested in it. And so it gave us what I consider a head start. The other thing that we had invested now several years on is leadership development, and how to organize a team, and how to motivate a team, how to make sure that there's accountability and focus and driven and goal setting and things like that, building relationships. So all those things about leadership development came really into play when we shut down, because we really depended on leadership across the system, teachers, principals, etc., to be able to pull off and execute something like this. And so those two were really, we unknown why we were preparing for those two things, but we had, and so they came in very useful. And so it's what carries us through, because we just keep adding competencies, if you will, for Canvas, the learning management system across the district. And so students have become very familiar with that, and it's our foundation. And so the adaptation, that's another part of leadership, being flexible, adaptable, and things like that. We had invested a lot in that. And so it comes in now very, very timely. And so, the other thing is dedication, and dedication is part of our leadership definition. And when you serve, during closure, we served over 2 million meals here in Arlington. And so that's food service staff, custodial staff that cleaned the building, security that kept the building secure, and things like that. Big dedication to our team, our community, and our district. And so, those things merged, and they, hit an intersection that was very timely. And so that helped us be prepared. Technology, that's another area that was really a challenge, because a lot of our students don't have the access at home or technology devices. Well, we've had 2 bond issues recently, and we buy technology out of our bond issues. So the community supported that bond issue, and so we had devices to hand out and check out to students. So we were fortunate in that, because we were able to meet and continue to meet the needs of students that need devices. So since closure to today, we've handed over 30,000 devices to students.
Wow.
And a number of hotspots and things like that. But we had those devices in the buildings because of our bond issue that our community supported. So, it's a lot of preparation, a lot of, forward thinking, I think, from our community and our district that allows us to have what I consider last week to be a very seamless first week of school. Mm-hmm. When you think about over 50,000 students logging in day one into an online platform, and that's how you're receiving your instruction the first day of school. And you remember perhaps the first day of school, and there's a lot of people just showing up and starting the year, and they don't have a schedule, or they're coming to register and all that. Right. Well, we had to do all that before the first day of school, and do it online, and reach out to parents and help them and things like that. So really proud of our staff. It's really come together as a group and a community. Now, our next challenge is opening face-to-face, mm-hmm. because that'll come with all these changes, protocols, adaptations, different changes in behavior of cleaning, of exiting, of moving from class to class, of keeping 6 feet apart in your classroom, wearing a mask. So here comes another big adaptation, if you will, into our system, and I think we're prepared for that.
Right. I'm glad you shed some light on giving the food over the summer break, and then also with all the technology you guys gave out. We tried to preach that as much as we could on our Twitter. We didn't bring it up very much on this podcast, but we did on our social medias talk about how great AISD was doing with giving lunches daily. Like the lines, some of them were just wrapped around the buildings. Same thing with picking up these tablets and these learning things that they needed, because like you said, there was a lot of kids that just don't have the technology.
That's correct. And so we've also issued instruments. If you think about just all the aspects of our district, mm-hmm. fine arts instruments, orchestra instruments, issued books and textbooks and things like that, all from the campuses, distributing that leadership at the campus level to make it really what I consider very seamless, because people get the supplies and things they need. We had a back to school school supply drive, if you will, where parents could come pick up backpacks full of supplies, and we have that every year at the AT&T Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
And this year we did it as a contactless drive up, and all that was organized by our staff and our volunteers. Over 10,000 families came to get supplies, and so I think the bigger kind of things that we've seen through this pandemic is an exposure, if you will, and we deal with it every day in our schools, because we deal with all aspects of social issues in our school system. But it's an exposure of just how much need there is for devices, for technology, for connection, for supplies, for food, just the basics, right? And I think it really has exposed that in a way that if there is a silver lining here, it kind of really sets the tone for what kind of work we need to do, really, as a group, as our community, as our state and our country, to meet these needs. And so that when we have situations like this, we can come together and make sure people have what they need.
No, you're right. I mean, our mayor was there giving away school supplies, and even our own Amy from this podcast, she went and picked stuff up from her daughter for school. So that school drive is very, very successful. Yeah. So we have a segment on the show called the Tournament of Toppings. We like to find the best pizza in Arlington. What is your favorite pizza place here in Arlington?
Mellow Mushroom.
Ah, very nice.
Yeah, I like that location, but also the kind of the environment there, to have lunch meetings and things like that.
Yeah. Oh, you're right. I mean, that area is growing so much and developing. I mean, obviously with what's going on right now, they're not developing as much as they could have been right now, but the future is very bright in that area.
I agree. Yep.
So if people want to reach out to you, ask questions, or just follow your adventures, how can they do so?
So we have all our information on our website, AISD.net, and you'll find my email there. It's mcavazos@AISD.net. And so people send me emails all the time about all kinds of different issues and topics and things like that. But absolutely, reach out to us, to our communications department and others. We like to hear from our community. We do Facebook Live. We have a number of events that take place in our district, and we hope to soon return face-to-face instruction, so that we can continue to help our students grow and develop to their maximum potential.
Right. Yeah, I have friends that have kids that are in the AISD school district, and I have friends that are teachers, and from both sides, they've had nothing but glowing things to say about what's going on and how the school district's been handling it. So I want to thank you for your leadership through all this, and I want to thank you for your time here.
Absolutely. Well, thank you.
Anytime. So we look forward to talking again, sir.
All righty. Bye-bye.
I'm here with Joe Scanlan, the host of Renegades Roundup. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing great. How are y'all?
Doing well. So, like I said, you are the co-host of Renegades Roundup, which is a podcast about Arlington's own XFL team, the Dallas Renegades. The season did end up a little abruptly. What did you think of what you saw?
Well, I was able to go to one of the games. I went to the Houston Roughnecks game when they came to Arlington, and honestly, just the atmosphere of the stadium, you could tell that the people of Arlington and the people of DFW really got behind the Renegades. They really got into the XFL as a whole. And it's not just Arlington. It was across the country as well. Just you had the Beer Snake in Washington, D.C. People were really getting into it. And so, you know, for it to just end abruptly like that due to COVID-19, it kind of hurt. And for those of us like me who really, you know, dove right in and got involved and started a podcast with my buddy, you know, it was just a shock to our system and kind of just really just disappointing.
Right.
Yeah, Rody and I covered it for our podcast, this podcast here, and like you said, the energy from the crowd, it was really great to see, and the crowd, while not a sellout or anything like that, you could feel it in the arena when you were on the field that they were really into it. And I'm glad you brought up the beer snake. That was absolutely like one of the funnest things to watch on like Sports Center. Like
Yes.
just seeing like the stuff that was developing in this what was a very young football league, and the potential that it had to be not necessarily like a primary competitor to the NFL or anything, but a complement to American football. And what could have become of these. And I'm also very sad that it ended the way that it did. So you've recently joined the XFL Press Podcast Network. With The Rock coming in and, being one of the few owners of the XFL, what do you think the future looks like?
Well, let me tell you, the future looks really bright. I have been in contact with one of the XFL insiders, Jay Noakes. He kind of had some insider info, so I was kind of paying attention to that along with him. And so when I heard the interest of people buying the XFL, I was excited. I had a good feeling it was coming back. A lot of people were like, Joe, you're crazy. Joe, it's not coming back. It's dead. Leave it alone. But I kept the faith, and getting that news that The Rock is a co-owner of the XFL was honestly really cool. And so yeah, him, Danny Garcia, and Redbird, they decided to partner up and bought this for $15 million, which in the grand scheme of buying, a sports league, that's cheap. So yeah, no, so I just can't believe, like, if I had $15 million, I would have done the same thing, I guess. But it's just the ideas they're bringing to the table, the tweets they're tweeting out. I follow Danny Garcia on Twitter, and she's got high hopes. They're really planning on maybe coming back in 2021, which would be amazing, especially with COVID. That is a factor. But if they were able to bring this back in the spring, that would be insane.
Right. With Dewey Johnson taking over, because he has the background of playing football. He played up in the CFL in Canada, and he knows what it's like to be a struggling football player wanting to get further along in your career, and that's exactly what a lot of these guys in the XFL did. We had at least, 20 to 30 players throughout the whole XFL end up going and signed with the NFL. So it's a great, not starter area, but it's a great place for these athletes to really show their skills.
Right, exactly. It gives athletes a chance that maybe couldn't make it in the NFL. Gives them a chance to show their stuff and show it out for fans. Because look at the Renegades. He had Gerard Hurd. I loved watching him in college in Texas. It didn't pan out in the NFL for him. Landry Jones, great OU quarterback, didn't pan out in the NFL, but he was able to put up some stuff for the Renegades. So this league is important because it gives those players another chance. And that's something, like you said, Dwayne Johnson understands, being a star athlete at Miami but not making it in the NFL. He had to struggle in the CFL. And ultimately, we all know he became super successful doing acting. So, so that's why I think the XFL is just so important. That's why I'm really glad they decided to band together and buy this league and try to start it back up.
Right, exactly.
So you're a former UTA radio sports announcer. What did you learn from being there, and do you still follow them?
I did. I was the UTA sports director back in 2018, 2019. I learned a lot. I learned how to cover sports, how to get sources when you're trying to cover sports. I, talked to all the UTA coaches, had some opportunities to talk with other coaches as well from other teams. It showed me how to be proactive and how to go out there and get the story. And then I called the game, so, working on my broadcast voice, working on my play-by-play skills. And so, UTA Radio Sports really helped me a lot. And I still follow them. It was disappointing to see the season end abruptly, due to COVID this year. I know the women's basketball team was on the way to another great showing, and probably even, I would say, maybe a conference championship in the tournament. So it was disappointing to see that season end quickly.
Right. So you've been a play-by-play commentator, you've been a sports commentator, and now a reporter for KTEN News up in Ardmore. Which do you prefer and why?
I'm going to go sports all day. You know, it's just being in the atmosphere, being able to bring the news to the people, being able to show them, you know, people who can't go to the games, who get their news, their sports highlights from the news that night. You know, being able to tell the stories of athletes struggling. It's always better to, you know, do sports. But I do like news as well. I've had the opportunity to tell some very good stories up here in Oklahoma. But anyone asking, most people, they're going to say they like sports a lot better, and that's just kind of an American thing. We all love sports.
It's true.
We have a segment on the show called the Tournament of Toppings, where we're trying to find the best pizza place in Arlington. Do you have a favorite pizza place in Arlington?
Favorite pizza place in Arlington? I'd have to say Brooklyn's Best Pizza.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know if y'all ever had it. It's over off of Green Oaks, over by the high school. That's where I went to high school. So,
hey, me too. Balls.
Hey, ball up, man. Yeah, no, dude, I would walk off campus, go get pizza. Cheap slice, pretty good pizza. I hope it's still there. I haven't been back in a while, but yeah, I'd say that's my favorite pizza place in Arlington.
Very nice.
So if people want to follow you and your adventures and listen to the podcast, how can they do that?
So y'all can follow me on Twitter. It's Joe Scanlan, SCANLAN TV. No underscores, no spaces, just one word. And you can follow the Renegades Roundup, our podcast, at Renegades_pod, P-O-D. So, yeah, check us out. We're now that the XFL's coming back up, we're going to be recording more, and we're going to put a lot more content out there now that we're part of XFL Press. So, definitely you're going to want to jump on board. We got some big things in store for everyone.
Fantastic.
Great. Thank you so much. We really enjoyed talking with you. Thank you for taking your time out for this, and enjoy your time a little bit north of us, and we hope you'll be back when the season comes back.
Yeah.
Thank you all. I really enjoyed this as well. Thank you for the opportunity.
All right. Thank you, sir.
All right, that was our show. Thank you so much to our guests. Of course, Superintendent Marcelo Cavazos, great get, Rody.
Very nice guy.
Yeah, really nice guy. I've met and talked to him a few times. Every time I talk to him, I feel really good about being in the Arlington School District. Every time I hear him talk, I'm impressed. Again, thanks to Joe Scanlan again for talking to us about XFL.
From the deep woods of Oklahoma, right?
It's not dead yet.
It's not dead yet. Thanks to Dewey Johnson, a.k.a. The Rock. That's the big news that you got.
That's the big news.
And I do apologize for the audio. He was, like Daryl said, in the deep woods of Oklahoma, so I don't know if his reception was bad or what the situation was. But, you know, you still heard him, and it was still a good interview.
Yep.
Yeah.
We're all doing what we can.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, and don't forget to
make sure to go out and eat local, drink local, and
go rediscover your city.
Tag us and send those pictures over to us on Facebook, Arlington Citizen Media, Twitter, ATX Citizen Media. Tag us on Instagram, Arlington Citizen Media, and send those pictures the old-fashioned way. Email arlingtoncitizenmedia@gmail.com. Also go to our website, www.arlingtoncitizenmedia.com. Don't forget to subscribe and give those 5-star reviews of the Downtown at Apple Music, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and also hit us on SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, and YouTube.
Y'all ready?
Yup.
y'all ready for this?
Y'all ready
I
for
was
this?
dancing. I was gonna join in, and I was like, "They got it. They got it covered. They don't need me."
Like double dutch. Where do I come in?
Let me just sit back and enjoy this. They're killing it. They're crushing it.